Hello and welcome to the Bucket List Show. I'm Tammy Crandell with Journey Adventure Travel and Tours and Barron Real Estate, and I'm here with my co-host Rebecca Danise with Real Estate Services and Management through Barron Real Estate.
Yep.
And the intention of our show, the Bucket List Show, is to serve you so we can help you fill your bucket to live your most abundant life. And what that means for each of you and us today is we bring on special guests, such as Calvin, that we have here with us again today. We're so lucky to have you. Thank you, Calvin, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And it's so we can bring information to you that could be of value to you, whether you're purchasing your first home or you are renovating a home, or even if you are just wanting to do something you've never done before. We talked about that, paddleboarding, or going on your first cruise, that sort of thing. So we talk about a myriad of different topics on this show. So thank you so much for joining us today. So as I mentioned, we have Calvin Johnson here with Vcita Home Inspection and Service, LLC. So thank you again for joining us. And, we've had you on the show before.
Right. Yep.
So what we really want to do is nugget down some of the things that you do. So, first of all, we've talked about in the past how important it is for you to have partnerships with the people that are either helping you sell a home, buy a home, and or renovate a home. Correct. So, and that's where someone like Calvin can be a good part of that. So, one of the things I noticed in some of your repertoire was, renovations that people do to their homes. Where do you come in with that?
Well, oftentimes when people renovate their home, at least, far as inside the garage, they normally don't get permits for those because they figure they close the garage door and, hey, we can build whatever we want. Try to sell it.
That's right.
Right.
And that's where the challenge becomes.
Right. And that's where it works well for use, right?
Right.
You can use it, get some great use out of it while you've got it there in your garage, that extra room where you're doing your gamer stuff, with your padded walls and whatever. And I've even seen people do that to some exterior spaces on their home, thinking, well, it's just the exterior of the house. Why could I possibly need an inspection for this type of thing? So where do you come in with that?
Well, oftentimes what's those things are done by the owner themselves that maybe probably learn a little bit from YouTube on how to run electrical wiring and plumbing and stuff like that and stuff. And so those things can be a safety hazard for families that moving into your home that don't realize that you have done it yourself.
Right.
But we're able to spot whether or not it was professionally done, if it was done by a permit or when it was done, and what have you. And so
if someone did renovation on their house and they hired contractors, your role would go in just to inspect the work to make sure, meets all health and safety factors. Right. And then ultimately, they're going to get the permit, the company that's doing the work.
Right, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Because we get, in Port St. Lucie, got a lot of do-it-yourself garage renovations. And oftentimes there's extension cords and, the air conditioning, have holes cut in it to put air in the garage. So a lot of things that
creative duct tape specials.
Absolutely, yes. People do it all the time. It saves them a buck. They figure I can do this.
Well, and sometimes that can be a bit short-sighted, right? That whole save them a buck kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right,
Because
yes.
in the long
Absolutely.
term, if you're doing something like that, something as simple as cutting a hole in a space to add air to a space, if it's not done properly, could actually be costing them more money
Right.
than it could be saving.
Exactly. And then also, they can be losing the air in one spot, one portion of the house, than others. It can cause, mainly if people decided to cut the ductwork inside the garage where they still park their cars, and see sometimes that, fumes and
Then you have the
paints and
fumes,
stuff,
yeah.
all that gets sucked
you
through
don't
the
even
system.
think about
Yeah.
that.
Right? Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah. You can actually
That's
slowly
true.
be killing yourself.
Well, on the last show, you talked about, heat loss, AC loss by doing the inspection.
Right.
And when people start jury-rigging things or doing stuff, outside of their realm, it is going to cost them more. And the AC is important that you don't want to try to, have this size AC, do this size.
Well, it's probably the biggest expense of what we have for electricity in our homes, yeah?
Right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Now you have some creative tools. You know, I took the time to kind of browse through your site because
Oh,
you've got
okay.
some pretty neat stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That you work with, and that's really important when you're working with an inspector. Is that you're using some of these things, tools of the trade. So I thought we might visit a few of those things if you're okay with that.
I am.
All right. So one of those tools that we had talked about, had looked at, was called a moisture meter. What does that do?
Yeah, that will allow us to see whether or not there's moisture in the walls or behind the walls or even underneath the floor.
Okay.
We have three different devices: thermal imaging, and of course you have natural visual,
Of course.
and then the meter itself,
Oh,
which
okay.
is invasive and non-invasive, where we can actually poke two needle holes into the wall and check there. Then the other one is more of laying the device up against the wall and can read it without, putting any type of holes or anything into the walls.
Okay.
So when you do that, do you do that throughout the house?
We do have a thermal camera that I do look for that. If I see
Okay.
any type of water stains or repairs done,
Then you'll go to the next step.
right,
Okay.
yeah, to further investigate to see if that
Okay.
Of
was
course.
moisture because of the repair or if that was something that's, brand new.
Well, that's
Now,
good.
have you ever had people who were considering buying a home have you come in specifically to look at those things in advance?
Yes, most people, whenever they purchase a home, definitely with an older roof, they want to know whether or not there's any type of roof leaks
Right.
and
right.
stuff. So we'll go a little bit further in detecting that type of
Okay. That's
inspection.
Fair. That's fair. Very cool. The other thing I thought was pretty cool is you actually have you use a 4K drone.
Yeah.
Oh, what is that for?
Oh, that's for looking at the roofs. We don't have to climb the roofs anymore.
Oh.
Yeah,
And that's better, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because then you're not stepping on people's tiles.
Right, you're not breaking any.
Well, that's true,
Not
too,
breaking
yeah.
any tiles. You're able to get the whole view of the roof, and we can zoom in, zoom out, get close as you would if you were standing on top of it. And it really gives a good overall detail of where the problem are at. You
Okay.
know, so we take a shot, 30 feet up above the roof, and you can pinpoint that it's the left side, right side, valley, hip,
Oh,
those
wow.
areas. So you're not just guessing and seeing one portion of the roof that looks like every other portion of the roof. You actually
Exactly.
know what
Okay.
location. Yeah.
Oh, that is
So what
pretty
about
cool.
when people have those cutouts, or is it able to see all that too?
Right, yeah. We're able
Okay.
to zoom in and zoom out
Okay.
on those areas and stuff. We pretty much know main areas are more vulnerable than others. So those areas we video record plus still photos of those areas, so we can look and see those up close. And then also when we go into the attic, we look at those areas too that we know we find common water leaks and damage and claims and
Oh,
stuff.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then you also mentioned something in regards to something that you use for gas detection.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So we have a meter that can determine freon leaks, also propane gas, natural gas, any type of chemicals of that sort we can detect.
Like
Okay.
a radon from the ground.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
And why is it important to know that before you buy a home?
Because oftentimes gas can be, you can smell gas and it's a natural environment and just kind of get overlooked. So you think, hey, there's a gas water heater. That smell might be considered at its normal level, but we can tell what level is safe and which level is normal
Oh,
for those
okay.
things. And then you can also have leaks in different areas where you don't necessarily smell it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And so if you have a gas line running through the attic, you're not going to smell that because you're not, going in your attic
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. And so we use it there. And
Does it do anything with the carbon dioxide? Does it have anything to do with that, or?
yeah, we have that as well. We have a test for that as well,
Okay. Okay.
and what have you. But any type of smell, a lot of people are sensitive to smell, so therefore we have a way of being able to detect whether or not it's normal or something that should look further into. And also, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So when you're doing your normal home inspection, so the water meter and the gas meter, those are used, right? Or
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. If the home is hooked to gas, propane, any of those type of
Okay.
things, we definitely use it. if there's a garage that was used for auto mechanic, you know, because it has parts and stuff like that, then we'll use the meter there just to see what level the gas is, the gas or the fumes are at.
Okay. Well, that's important because that's another health and safety factor.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's like lead paint, radon, and all these things are so key, but people, you know, they need to understand
Which
why.
really brings up an important point too, because I've run into situations where I've been in houses, whether we were showing them for sale or somebody was picking them up to rent, and the water's not turned on, the electricity's not turned on, so it's hard to know what works and what doesn't work. So, you know, as a person who's renting or if you're selling, it really is in your best interest to keep those things on until you've got somebody else in there and get it switched over.
Right.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, you don't want any issues or mold or heat or anything
Right,
like that.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, best leave
leave
everything
it on.
Yeah, that's,
So,
yeah, just turn everything down, but leave it on.
That's right. That's right. You know, we have got some other things that we're going to talk about, specifically in the type of inspections that you're doing when someone goes to buy a home, and why those things are important. We're going to bring that back. We're going to take a quick break for about 2 minutes, but we have a lot more to talk about when we return, so we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Are you looking to buy, sell, or lease your commercial property? Do you want to sell your business? Do you need a property manager? The Jeremiah Barron & Company commercial real estate experts have managed over $1 billion in commercial real estate transactions. Our agents focus on each client's specific needs to deliver results. For more information, visit treasurecoastcommercialrealestate.com. Located in St. Lucie West, Barron Academy is a private school that caters to students with autism and other unique needs. Barron Academy hosts grades K to 8, offering paced lessons and smaller class sizes guided by a passionate team of experienced educators. Curriculums are tailored to each student's abilities, which builds confidence while nurturing learning. For more information, visit exceptionalacademymypsl.com.
welcome everyone. Thank you back to the Bucket List Show. My name is Rebecca Danise, and I'm still here with Tammy, and we have Calvin. We're going to finish our discussion on home inspections and the other things that he does. So last time we did speak about home inspections, and we're trying to give information monthly on people what they need to understand the process and the value of a home inspection. So I know there's many areas that you have as far as your role. So you know, your site, you know, you go out, you talk over water heaters or plumbing, but can you just drill down a little bit on the role of what you're doing and how you see what you see and how you guide the customer through that process?
Yeah, a lot of it is experience because of the fact that we've seen so many homes over the course of 15 years being in the business of home inspection. So we kind of like can pinpoint areas that that would draw attention to, or things that we feel as though that you might have a problem with, and then we'll discuss those things. We say, take for instance the age of the water heater or the brand. We could tell that this brand might fail more so than the other brand because of the fact that we've seen both brands and more things that are common than others because we see a lot of water heaters, we see a lot of stoves, appliances, and what have you. It gives us over the years, it gives us that experience where you as a homeowner or a home buyer wouldn't see as many. We could tell what products last longer than others.
Oh, okay. Very good point.
Yeah.
So is there any maintenance, like you mentioned the water heater? So there's no traditional maintenance on a water heater, but it should be inspected once a year.
Yeah. Well, as far as maintenance, the manufacturer would oftentimes recommend to flush the system, drain it, refill, and clean it. As far as the sediment at the bottom of it, very few people
do that.
Yeah,
we usually wait till it explodes.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I'm guilty of it too.
Yeah, I had a customer who was renting a home, and the water heater actually exploded in the garage, and went everywhere of all the stuff that wasn't protected.
Yeah.
And you know, I wouldn't have thought that would have happened, but I guess it does. So and it did happen. So
and the expense of water heaters are immense. So it really should be something that you maintenance like you would your AC periodically, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Most people find that the water heater have problems once it leaks,
Yes.
and it destroyed or it burst.
That's right.
But if you have, you have someone like us to come out to do a routine maintenance on your home, we can kind of tell you ahead of time what things are heading towards failure or things that are leaking before they turn into a whole house flood or to a burst pipe in the walls. We can tell you.
Have you found that some people might have done what was considered their own home install of their heaters, when really in St. Lucie County specifically, you're required to have permits and
Definitely.
You're tying in electrical and plumbing. That's a big job.
Yes, a lot of people
to save the money.
Yeah.
do their own water heaters because they make it look easy, make it look simple, but
YouTube tells you how to do
I know.
it.
Yep, YouTube is definitely
YouTube and Siri are not helping us.
Yep.
So
they have their place, but
yeah, no, that's true.
but definitely.
So when you're doing a home inspection and the water heater, is fine, is there a life expectancy you would see on a water heater?
Yeah, it depends on the quality because you can buy 8-year, 10-year, 12-year warranty water heater, and that's something we tell you in the report whether or not the water heater has more life or less life or it's past its life expectancy. So you can kind of budget for that or get that replaced before.
Right. Well, that's just, even if it's in good repair now, that's something good for the new buyer to know.
Right.
Because it could be something they may go back to the table to renegotiate it.
Of
But if
course.
not, just have it out there that, there's got to be, improvements down the future. So as far as the plumbing, I mean, I know you could turn on the water, shut it off. What else would we be looking at for plumbing?
We look, like I said, we look for leaks and stuff. Oftentimes, you wouldn't go and check your main meter to see if it's running when you know everything's off. But part of an inspection is we do check the meter, see if it's still running when we know if the water's completely off at the house. So oftentimes, you can have a small leak, never notice it, but until it develops into a big leak. That's something that we find a lot of that we can tell you that you have a leak that even the homeowners that have been living there for years never knew about.
Okay.
Wow.
And then we could tell that it's been there for years. So they've been paying a water bill much higher than what they could have or should have been paying.
Well, that's good to know too.
Yeah.
Wow.
I also, know of one customer that she lives in a community in Port St. Lucie, and their plumbing is all underneath the floor of the main, thing. So it happened that their plumbing exploded, which, 1,200 square feet was destroyed. And why would that happen?
Well, because your house settled, soil movement, any of those things like that, poor construction is oftentimes the case.
So how would is there a way to protect that or wrap them or I don't know?
Yeah, they are wrapped and protected best as possible, but pipes and joints and connections and stuff still corrode because of the fact that it's in contact with the ground and the elements there can.
So what would be the life expectancy of the plumbing then? Because then that's
all of it has different life expectancy based, and then everything's based on the environment that it's in also, and then the quality of the person that put it down.
The install.
Right, because we've inspected brand new homes that before even a person had lived in that had leaks before he even moved in.
Oh, that's scary.
Yep.
That's really kind of creepy.
Especially with new construction,
Yeah,
you think you're good.
Right, you would think you're good, but we see it a lot often than not.
Yeah.
Well, the advantage is you see what we don't see.
Right.
We're walking in, the kitchen's beautiful, look at this master bath, you're going to love it here. But we have to drill down and look at it, especially because there's still older inventory, all over the country.
Right. So you're paying for the experience that we have and the equipment and stuff and the training. We spend a lot of time in training. We've spent a ton of money in equipment. I'm more of a tech guy, so that's why we oftentimes have more equipment than the average home inspector, would carry or require to carry, because we really care about doing a really good job, giving the homeowner a good inspection, And so we invest in our company and buying those type of equipment and spending whatever time necessary to give you a good report. We can't catch everything, but we do catch a lot, and we do stay behind our inspection reports.
And that's important.
Yeah.
Now, if you, if someone is in the process, and I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but someone's in the process of doing renovations on their home, or maybe they're considering doing renovations on their home, it's been a while, would you recommend that they do an inspection before and or after, or?
It can help with us because we can give you good advice
Okay,
in a renovation process.
okay,
And then we can also inspect to make sure that it meets certain requirements of things that would be
up to code.
right. Yeah, absolutely. As far as if you decide to sell or different things like that, we can kind of put a signature behind it that says, hey, everything looks according to what it should look like, or specs or
Right.
anything like that.
Gotcha.
Okay. What about like fire safety?
Yeah, we do fire safety, and that would be with the smoke detectors, fire sprinkler system, and windows, exit, egress, doors,
Gotcha.
different things like that. Because you have a fire rated door as far as between the garage and the home itself, which is important to have because you can have a garage fire
Oh,
that will
yeah.
spread through the home,
Yeah.
having a fire rated wall between the garage and the home itself. So
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned that. So something even as simple as, and I know my husband and I had run into this, where we had our water pump that sits outside next to our AC, and didn't even realize that we were having trouble with the pump.
right.
And until we walked out one day because the water was not generating to water the lawn, and it literally had melted. It had caught fire and had like melted half of part of the AC and had caught fire. I mean, thankfully it didn't burn the house down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it definitely, you could tell that the fire was hot enough that it melted it like almost to the ground. It was a little scary.
Yeah. So when you think about, the AC units, they are outside.
Right.
So they're trying to, pump enough cool for that home, but they're in the baking heat.
Right.
Does that make sense? Is that how it?
Yep, that's how it is. They're made for that. The
Okay.
only problem with that we often see is people like to cover those up, and they cover those up with bushes and trees and
yeah.
everything like that.
And they need air to
they
flow,
need,
right?
They need air.
Yeah, they
Yep,
need airflow.
Yep. You put, a lot of times people are planting hedges and bushes too close to the unit, and that grows into the coil.
So maybe you're better off with some sort of PVC fencing or something
Right.
like that that's not going to grow into
Right.
the
Yeah.
unit.
Give it the space for maintenance and service, and for it to actually work properly, because we do see a lot of that where people are covering AC, but they're covering it up with trees and.
I mean, you would want it protected some way, because then you don't want the lawn care to go flying right into your AC too.
Right.
And then that's clogging it up too, the
Right.
lawn or the debris.
Right, exactly. And oftentimes they're sitting on a pad, and that pad can shift or tilt a little bit, which would then cause the unit to burn stuff out because of the oil and everything, the freon, because
it's
it's
not
not balanced.
level.
Yeah, it should be on level ground for the most part.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Good to know.
So I know a couple of the other things that you have, attics, garage, the grading. What do you do on the grading of the property?
Okay, we basically on that, something like that, we look to make sure that everything is going away from the foundation and not
Okay.
towards. If there's we get a lot of property that have where the grading is going towards the property, and therefore causing maybe like a flood at the footing, the foundation, which can wash away and create where you're not able to step outside your back door, front door, because of the fact that the water's going straight towards
Into
the
the
house,
house.
right? As towards away from the house. And we kind of give you advice on whether that you need a gutter, underground gutter that can pull that water away from the foundation and footing.
That's, you don't want a sinkhole
No.
water.
Right, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
That would be my
I mean,
concern.
I've recently come across some homes where they actually had built, instead of just, a lot of times people will put rocks or stones, a foot out and away from the wall,
Right.
and that way you're not beating the wall to death with your weed whip or what have you. But I've even run into some homes that actually have like a concrete pad surround, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Right, and that works.
Uh-huh.
That works because you want to keep the water away from the foundation of the home.
Okay.
Because water can do a lot of damage
Yeah,
to the
yeah,
foundation.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive to me. I'd never
Yeah.
seen anything quite like
Yeah,
that.
I haven't seen that, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's going to catch the water and move it where it wants to be moved,
Right.
Right.
protecting the home and everything else.
Exactly.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and having the right size gutters. Because a lot of times people go with the 5-inch gutters, and that is way too small for the size roof
Oh,
or
yeah.
the amount of water that's coming off. We even do inspection where we can actually see the gutter sitting there and the water's running completely over the gutters.
Oh, no, it's not even catching the
It's not
water.
even catching it because the gutters are too small. They're not up high
They're
enough.
getting too full. Too full.
Yeah, it's all
Yep.
clogged up.
Yeah, it's all clogged
Wow.
up and those things like that. So
And then one final thing we wanted to address before we end the show today, and that is, we noticed there was some recommendation via your site, when a person is buying a new home, you get that 11-month in, and that you really should have the home inspected
right.
at that point to make sure. Why is that?
Well, that's more for your personal peace of mind because of the fact now you lived in the house a whole year. You didn't pretty much establish how you living in the house as far as like AC. You always set your temperature at 75 during the summer. You use this much water. As far as taking showers, baths, and all that good stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, and so with that, with normal wear and tear, we can kind of tell if the home is maintaining itself and aging properly, because you can have premature aging or things that are being used for not its real purpose.
Didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Even on, so new construction too, you would say, go out there at that 11th month, just, relook at everything again.
right, absolutely. Because then you have new construction, you have the settlements.
Right.
The
Okay.
house settles and stuff. I think it's it's a couple of years of settlement, but still.
Perfect. So the last thing is, Tammy, did you have a drop in the bucket today? Anything new you want to share?
Not specifically, but I do want to say thank you, Calvin. I know we'll bring you on again for some
Yes.
really meaty topics, and we love being able to talk about these things that will help people. A home is one of the biggest investments that
Yes.
people make. Whether you're choosing to rent, rent to own or own straight up. So,
Yep.
So we appreciate the information that you shared with us today. Thank you
Yes,
so much.
thanks for
Thank
having me.
you. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Be kind.